You know, when the Galactic Council decided to humor humanity with our very own research permit, I don't think they expected us to take it seriously. But here I am, Dr. Marcus Webb, xenobiologist extraordinaire, sitting on a barely habitable rock called Kepler 42b, cataloging alien moss for the greater glory of interstellar science. The pay is decent, the view is spectacular, and the commute is only 3 months through hyperspace. What more could a single father ask for? Oh, right, a babysitter. Dad, why does that purple thing keep staring at us? Emma asks, pointing at what I've classified as a gelatinous observation blob. She's 8 years old, fearless, and has the unfortunate Webb family trait of asking questions that make adults uncomfortable. It's probably wondering why we're not running away screaming, I reply, making notes on my datapad. Most species in this sector have the common sense to avoid things they don't understand. But we're not most species, Emma grins, and I can't argue with that logic. The thing about humans, according to our galactic neighbors, is that we're charmingly naive. We show up to council meetings with our quaint little proposals and our adorable belief that science matters more than territory disputes. The Altarians find us refreshingly optimistic. The Centauri Collective thinks we're delightfully primitive. And the Trade Federation keeps trying to sell us extended warranties on our hyperspace engines, because apparently even in space, some things never change. What none of them seem to grasp is that we brought friends. Brutus, get away from that crystal formation, I shout at the honey badger currently investigating what my scanner insists is a highly volatile energy source. Brutus, being a honey badger, responds by digging deeper into the glowing rocks. Let me explain, Brutus. 3 years ago, the Genetic Enhancement Division thought it would be hilarious to give Earth's most fearless predator enhanced intelligence, extended lifespan, and opposable thumb claws. The experiment was deemed too unpredictable for practical application after Brutus escaped his containment facility 6 times in 1 week. The 7th time, he simply walked out the front door during a shift change and hopped aboard my transport. Emma named him. I kept him because honestly, what else do you do with a genetically modified honey badger who's decided you're his people? He's fine, Dad, Emma says, watching Brutus emerge from the crystal cluster with what appears to be a glowing purple gem in his mouth. Brutus knows what he's doing. This is categorically untrue. Brutus operates on pure instinct and spite, which is why he's survived everything from plasma storms to vacuum exposure. The little furry psychopath has no concept of danger, because danger should be afraid of him. Our research station is basically a prefab bubble, with life support and enough scientific equipment to make the council feel like they're getting their money's worth. It's peaceful here, which should have been my first warning sign. In my experience, peaceful doesn't last long when humans are involved. The comm system crackles to life with that particular static that means someone's dropping out of hyperspace nearby. Emma perks up hopefully. Are we getting visitors, Dad? Hesitate. I check the scanner and feel my stomach drop. 3 ships, definitely not council registry, moving in a classic hunting formation. Emma, I say carefully, remember that talk we had about what to do if strangers show up? Find Brutus and stay close to you, she recites dutifully. I look around for our honey badger and spot him about 50 meters away, methodically shredding a plant that my notes indicate is probably carnivorous. Even from here, I can hear him making that distinctive chattering sound that means he's either very happy or very annoyed. With Brutus, those 2 states are functionally identical. The first ship touches down with all the subtlety of a meteor impact, and I get my first look at our unexpected guests through the observation port. 8 feet tall, covered in scales that look like they could deflect small arms fire, and sporting enough natural weapons to outfit a medieval army. Great. Predators. Dad? Emma's voice is smaller now. Are those the bad kind of visitors? I put my arm around her shoulders and watch as more figures emerge from the other ships. Well, kiddo, let's find out just how bad they are. What I don't mention is that I'm suddenly very, very grateful that Earth's most unreasonable predator is currently within shouting distance. Because something tells me we're going to need him. The leader of our uninvited guests stands about as tall as my research station and twice as wide. His scales shimmer with that particular iridescence that evolution reserves for things that want you to know they're apex predators. When he speaks, it's through a translation matrix that makes him sound like a chain-smoking dragon with anger management issues. Greetings, small mammals, he rumbles, and I can practically hear the quotation marks around greetings. I am Captain Zoltek of the Vexkari Hunting Collective. You are trespassing on our territory. I activate our external comm system and try to project confidence I absolutely don't feel. Actually, Captain, this planet is designated as a Council research zone under Treaty 77 Alpha. We have full documentation if you'd like to review it. The sound that comes through the translator might be laughter, if laughter could strip paint. Your council's treaties mean nothing here, little human. We hunt where we please, take what we desire. Through the observation port, I watch more Vexgari emerge from their ships. They move like predators, all fluid grace and barely contained violence. Each one carries weapons that look like they were designed by someone who thought regular plasma rifles weren't intimidating enough. Dad, Emma whispers, tugging on my lab coat. The big one keeps looking at me. She's right. Zaltek's attention has shifted from me to Emma, and there's something in his reptilian gaze that makes my blood freeze. It's the look a collector gets when they spot a particularly rare specimen. How fascinating, Zaltek continues, his massive head tilting. A human spawn. We have heard tales of your kind's attachment to your offspring, but to witness it firsthand. Tell me, small mammal, how much would you sacrifice to keep your young ones safe? Every instinct I have is screaming at me to grab Emma and run, but there's nowhere to go. Our nearest neighbor is 3 star systems away, and our emergency beacon would take weeks to reach anyone who might care. Captain, there's no need for threats, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. We're scientists, not soldiers. We pose no threat to your operations. Threat? Another paint-stricken laugh. You misunderstand, human. You are not a threat. You are entertainment. One of his subordinates, sporting what appears to be a collection of trophies from various species, steps forward. Captain, the young one would make an excellent addition to the hunting lodge. So small, so delicate. Emma, bless her fearless little heart, steps out from behind me. I'm not delicate. I'm 8 3/4, and I know 17 different dinosaur names. The Vexkari find this hilarious. Their laughter sounds like a rock slide in a thunderstorm. Spirited prey is the most satisfying, Zaltek muses. Very well, human. Here are your options. Surrender the spawn willingly, and we will grant you a swift death. Resist, and we will take her anyway, but you will live long enough to watch us add her to our collection. I feel something cold and sharp settle in my chest. It's not fear, exactly. It's that peculiar clarity that comes when every other option disappears, and you're left with the simple truth of what you're willing to do. There's a third option, I say quietly. Oh, and what might that be? I glance toward where Brutus was last seen, and notice he's no longer destroying the carnivorous plant. In fact, I can't see him at all, which is either very good or very, very bad. You could leave, I suggest. Pack up your ships, file this planet under too much trouble, and find something else to hunt. Zaltek's scales actually change color, shifting to a deeper, more aggressive shade of purple. You amuse me, human. What could possibly make us reconsider our claim on such delightful prey? That's when I spot Brutus. He's sitting about 10 feet behind the nearest Vexkari warrior, grooming his claws with the kind of casual attention that means he's already decided someone is going to have a very bad day. Captain, I say, and I can't keep the smile out of my voice. I'd like you to meet my daughter's pet. Zaltek follows my gaze and spots Brutus, who has now finished grooming and is regarding the assembled Vexkari with the kind of professional interest a demolitions expert shows toward a particularly challenging building. Zaltek's translator struggles with what might be disbelief. That tiny fur creature is supposed to intimidate us? Oh, he's not supposed to intimidate anyone, I reply cheerfully. Brutus doesn't really understand the concept of intimidation, he just knows when someone threatens his pack. The honey badger in question has moved closer, close enough that I can see him testing the air. His posture is relaxed, almost lazy, which any zoologist would recognize as the calm before the storm. Brutus has 2 modes, sleeping and absolute violence. There is no middle ground. Your pack, Zaltek's amusement is palpable. Human, we are apex predators. We have conquered 17 systems and hunted the deadliest creatures in known space. Your pet is barely the size of our smallest prey. That's nice, Emma says conversationally. Brutus once fought off a pack of space pirates who tried to steal our lunch money. Dad says they still have nightmares. This is technically true. The pirates in question filed a formal complaint with the Mercenary Guild about unreasonably aggressive wildlife, and now refuse contracts involving Earth origin vessels. One of Zaltek's warriors, apparently bored with the conversation, takes a step toward Emma. Enough talk. The spawn comes with us. That's the moment everything goes sideways. Brutus doesn't growl. He doesn't hiss or bare his teeth, or make any of the threatening displays that sensible predators use to avoid unnecessary conflict. He simply goes from 0 to honey badger in the space between heartbeats. The warrior who reached for Emma suddenly discovers that his armored leg now has a furry, snarling attachment. Brutus has latched on with the kind of grip usually reserved for industrial clamps, and he's working his way up the alien's leg with the methodical efficiency of a living chainsaw. "What is that thing doing?" Zaltek bellows, raising his weapon. "His job," I replied, pulling Emma behind the research station's control console. "Brutus, you beautiful psychotic little monster. Show them why Earth creatures don't ask permission." What follows is less a fight and more a masterclass in applied chaos theory. The Vexkari warrior tries to shake off Brutus, but honey badgers were designed by evolution to never, under any circumstances, let go of anything they've decided belongs to them. The alien's increasingly frantic attempts to dislodge his attacker only seem to encourage Brutus, who has now reached the warrior's torso and is making those happy, chittering sounds that mean he's having the time of his life. "Shoot it," Zaltek commands. "Sir, I can't get a clear shot." "Then use your claws." This turns out to be a tactical error. The moment another Vexkari joins the fray, Brutus apparently decides this is now a party. He releases his first victim, who collapses in a heap of shredded armor and wounded pride, and launches himself at the newcomer with the kind of joyful enthusiasm most creatures reserve for finding food. "Fascinating," I murmur, making mental notes. He's adapted his attack pattern based on their armor configuration. See how he's targeting the joint articulations? "Dad, you're being weird again," Emma observes. She's right. I'm watching a 20-pound mammal systematically dismantle creatures that could bench press a hover car, and my first instinct is to document it for publication. This probably says something unfortunate about my priorities. The third Vexkari tries a different approach, pulling out what appears to be an energy net. This might have worked on a normal animal, but Brutus treats the crackling energy field like a minor inconvenience, chewing through it with teeth that evolution specifically designed to bite through anything. "This is impossible," Zaltek roars. "Nothing that small can be this aggressive." "You've clearly never met a honey badger," I call back. "They're basically rage in fur form. We tried to domesticate them once. The honey badgers filed a complaint." By now, Brutus has worked his way through half the hunting party. The remaining Vexkari are backing away, which is exactly the wrong response. Running triggers Brutus's chase instinct, and a honey badger in full pursuit is like a furry missile with commitment issues. "Call it off," Zaltek demands, his earlier confidence replaced by something that might actually be concern. "Oh, I can't call him off," I explain helpfully. "Brutus doesn't take orders, he makes suggestions, usually involving how many pieces he'd like to leave his opponents in." Emma pops up from behind the console. "He's not even mad yet. You should see him when someone threatens his food bowl." What none of us realized at the time was that Zaltek's ship had been broadcasting the entire encounter on an open channel. Apparently the Vexkari enjoy sharing their hunts with the wider galactic community, probably for the same reason humans post videos of their cats doing stupid things. The difference is that our cats don't usually cause interstellar incidents. "Sir," one of the surviving Vexkari gasps, nursing what appears to be several missing scales and a bruised ego, "the footage has been picked up by 17 different news networks." Zaltek, who is currently using his plasma rifle as a club to keep Brutus at bay while backing toward his ship, snarls something that the translator renders as, "Disable the broadcast, you incompetent spawn of a diseased prey animal." "I can't, sir. The creature chewed through the communication array." I glance at Emma, who shrugs. Brutus likes shiny things. Indeed, our honey badger has apparently taken a break from dismantling alien hunters to investigate their technology. He's currently emerging from the bowels of their primary vessel with what looks like half their navigation computer in his mouth, sparking cheerfully. "Brutus," I call out, "that's probably important to them." He looks at me, looks at the sparking electronics, then deliberately drops them and steps on them for good measure. The message is clear. He doesn't care. By this point, my research station's communication array is lighting up like a Christmas tree. Emergency channels, diplomatic frequencies, and what I'm fairly certain is the galactic equivalent of social media are all trying to connect simultaneously. "Kepler Station, this is Commander Vex Thara of the Altarian Defense Fleet. Please respond regarding the situation currently trending across 73 star systems." Emma perks up. "We're trending, Dad." "That's nice, sweetie." I keyed the comm. "Commander, this is Dr. Webb. What exactly is trending?" "The footage of your companion single-handedly neutralizing a Vexkari hunting party. Current view count is approaching 2 billion across all networks. The betting pools on 17 different worlds have crashed because nobody predicted this outcome." I look out at the battlefield, where Brutus has cornered two more Vex-Skari warriors behind their landing gear. They're 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor, armed with weapons that could level a city block, and they're clearly terrified of a 20-pound mammal who's making happy chittering sounds while systematically destroying their equipment. Commander, I say carefully, what exactly are people betting on? Initially, how long it would take the Vex-Skari to subdue your research station. The odds were not in your favor. Then the footage hit the networks and everything changed. There's now a galactic pool on how many Vex-Skari your creature can disable before he gets bored. Another communication channel opens. Dr. Webb, this is Professor Klixnaren of the Centauri Xenobiology Institute. We must have detailed biological data on your companion immediately. Our preliminary analysis suggests it's physically impossible for something that small to display such aggressive dominance over apex predators. You'd have to ask Brutus, I reply, but he's not much of a conversationalist. As if summoned by his name, Brutus appears at the observation port with something metallic and important looking in his mouth. He drops it, sits back on his haunches, and gives me what I've learned to recognize as his "I've been a good boy, where are my treats" expression. Dad, Emma whispers, I think he broke their ship. She's not wrong. Behind Brutus, the primary Vex-Skari vessel is listing to one side and making sounds that ships probably shouldn't make. Smoke is rising from several hull breaches, and their landing lights are flashing in what I recognize as a distress pattern. Attention all vessels, comes a new voice, this one carrying the unmistakable authority of the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Keekslin of the Diplomatic Corps. We are en route to mediate what has been classified as a Class 7 interstellar incident. Class 7, I query? Events likely to result in rewriting existing treaties, the ambassador explains. The current footage has prompted emergency sessions in 47 different governmental bodies. The Vex-Skari Collective has issued a formal complaint about weaponized wildlife, while the Earth Colonial Authority is demanding hazard pay for all personnel working with enhanced predator species. I giggles. Brutus isn't enhanced, he's just Brutus. Through the external comm, I could hear Zaltek attempting to rally his remaining forces. Fall back to the secondary perimeter, establish a defensive position. Sir, what's our target? The small fury death beast. Which one? There's only one. Exactly. How is one creature holding an entire hunting party at bay? I could explain that honey badgers don't understand concepts like impossible odds or tactical retreat, but I suspect it wouldn't help. Brutus operates on a simple philosophy. If it threatens his pack, it gets the claws. The fact that his opponents are 3 times his size and armed with military-grade weaponry is merely an interesting detail, like weather. Dr. Webb, Ambassador Keekslin continues, we're receiving reports that this incident has been classified as educational by 17 different military academies. They're apparently using it as a case study in asymmetric warfare applications. It's not warfare, I protest. It's just Brutus being protective. Nevertheless, the footage has prompted the Predator Species Council to issue an emergency advisory about Earth creatures. They're requesting detailed files on anything humans consider pets. Emma tugs on my sleeve. Dad, should we tell them about cats? I consider this. Domestic cats, who regularly hunt for sport and leave dismembered prey as gifts. Cats, who see larger predators as inconveniences rather than threats. Cats, who humans have willingly shared their homes with for thousands of years. Maybe we'll save that for later, kiddo. The comm crackles again. This is Captain Railnex of the scientific research vessel Curiosity. Dr. Webb, we're prepared to offer you a substantial grant to study your companion's behavioral patterns. The implications for predator psychology are staggering. I appreciate the offer, Captain, but Brutus isn't really a research subject. He's family. A long pause. You consider an apex predator to be family? I watch Brutus methodically shredding what appears to be the Vex-Skari's communications array, his tail wagging with pure joy. Captain, where I come from, all the best families have at least one member who's completely unhinged. 3 hours later, our little research station resembles the aftermath of a natural disaster. If natural disasters had fur and opposable thumb claws. Brutus has finally grown bored with dismantling Vex-Skari equipment and is now napping in a patch of sunlight, occasionally opening one eye to check on his handiwork. The hunting party that arrived with such confidence is now huddled around their damaged ships, looking like they've survived a close encounter with a very small, very angry tornado. Ambassador Keekslin's diplomatic vessel touches down with considerably more grace than our original visitors, though I notice they land well outside of what might generously be called Brutus's territory. The ambassador themselves is a member of the Quillan species, which means they look like someone crossed a penguin with a philosophy professor and gave the result a very expensive suit. Dr. Webb, the ambassador begins without preamble, the Galactic Council is convening an emergency session to address what they're calling the Kepler incident. Captain Zaltek has filed 17 separate complaints, ranging from unprovoked aggression by undisclosed weapons to psychological warfare through deployment of apparently immortal Furbies. I glance at Brutus, who chooses that moment to scratch behind his ear with the hind paw, looking about as intimidating as a particularly sleepy house cat. Ambassador, with all due respect, Brutus isn't a weapon. He's a honey badger. Yes, we've been briefed on your species classification system. However, Captain Zaltek insists that no natural creature could display such, quote, the ambassador consults their notes, quote, unreasonable disregard for the natural order of predator and prey relationships, unquote. Emma, who has been quietly documenting the whole affair with her tablet, looks up. Maybe their natural order is just wrong. The ambassador blinks slowly, which among Quillans indicates either deep thought or mild panic. Could you elaborate on that, young human? Well, Emma continues with the kind of logic that only 8-year-olds can deploy with absolute confidence. If Brutus can beat them up, then maybe they're not really apex predators. Maybe they're just big. From the direction of the Vexkari ships comes a sound that might be Zaltek choking on his own indignation. The child raises an interesting point, admits the ambassador. Captain Zaltek, how do you respond to the suggestion that your species may have overestimated its position in the galactic ecosystem? Overestimated? Zaltek's scales are now cycling through colors I'm pretty sure aren't supposed to exist. We have conquered 17 systems. We are feared across 12 sectors. We do not overestimate anything. And yet, I point out helpfully, my daughter's pet has effectively neutralized your entire hunting party while barely working up a sweat. I'd say that suggests some room for improvement in your threat assessment protocols. The ambassador turns to me with what might be curiosity. Dr. Webb, could you explain to the council exactly what a honey badger represents in Earth's ecosystem? Oh, this is going to be fun. Well, ambassador, honey badgers are what we call an apex attitude species. They're not the biggest predator, or the strongest, or the fastest, but they have something more dangerous than any of those things. Which is, they genuinely do not care about the odds. I gestured toward Brutus, who has now rolled onto his back and is batting at a passing insect. See, most predators have built-in survival instincts. They assess threats, calculate risks, make strategic decisions. Brutus skipped that entire evolutionary development and went straight to, if it's a problem, bite it until it stops being a problem. That's not how predator psychology works, objects a voice I recognize as belonging to Professor Klixnoren from the Xenobiology Institute. Tell that to the lions. I beg your pardon. Lions. African apex predators. Kings of their ecosystem. They actively avoid honey badgers because it's not worth the hassle. You can be the most dangerous thing in your environment, but if something smaller than you is willing to make your life miserable enough, you'll find somewhere else to be. The professor's silence is eloquent. Furthermore, I continue, warming to my theme, humans don't just coexist with honey badgers. We actively seek them out as companions. We have an entire planet full of creatures that most species would classify as unreasonably dangerous, and we call them pets. Dogs, cats, horses, dolphins. We've domesticated wolves, befriended sharks, and taught ravens to use tools. Our children grow up thinking this is normal. Your children, the ambassador says carefully, grow up surrounded by apex predators? Well, yes. How else would they learn proper risk assessment? Emma nods seriously. Dad says if you can handle a house cat, you can handle anything. And can you handle a house cat, Emma? Oh, sure. Mittens only scratched me twice last week. That's way better than usual. The silence that follows is the kind you get when an entire room full of supposedly intelligent beings realizes they may have fundamentally misunderstood something important. Finally, Captain Zaltek speaks up, his voice considerably smaller than before. Dr. Webb, are you suggesting that your species routinely coexists with creatures like that? He gestures vaguely toward Brutus, who has now discovered a stick and is in the process of murdering it with extreme prejudice. Captain, that's not even close to our most dangerous pet. Brutus is just the one we brought on this particular trip. What's your most dangerous pet? Asks the ambassador, and I get the distinct impression they really don't want to know the answer. Emma and I exchange glances. She grins. Well, I say thoughtfully, there's this species we call geese. The collective shudder that goes through our assembled audience is audible. Perhaps, suggests Ambassador Keekslin hastily, we should focus on the immediate situation. The Council requires a resolution to prevent further incidents of this nature. That's simple enough, I reply. Don't threaten human children. I'm sorry? You want to prevent future incidents like this? Don't threaten human children. We have what you might call a protective instinct when it comes to our young, and we've spent 10,000 years living alongside creatures that share that instinct. The results can be unpredictable. Zaltek makes a sound like a deflating balloon. You're telling me that this entire incident could have been avoided if we had simply left your spawn alone? Well, yes, but you decided you wanted to add Emma to your trophy collection, so Brutus decided you needed to be educated about the errors in your thinking. It's really quite straightforward. The ambassador is making notes furiously. So the proper protocol for future human encounters is: be polite, don't threaten the children, and if you see something small and furry, assume it's probably more dangerous than it looks. Emma adds helpfully. And bring snacks. Everyone's friendlier when they're not hungry. As if summoned by the mention of food, Brutus opens his eyes and fixes the assembled aliens with a look that clearly says, speaking of snacks, I've worked up quite an appetite dismantling your equipment. The speed with which our visitors suddenly remember urgent appointments elsewhere is really quite remarkable. 6 months later, I'm sitting in the same research station, cataloging the same alien moss, and watching Emma teach Brutus how to play fetch with a piece of Vexkari hull plating that he's apparently claimed as a trophy. The hole in their ship where that particular piece used to be has become something of a tourist attraction. Apparently, beings from across the galaxy want to see the exact spot where a 20-pound Earth mammal redefined interstellar law. The Galactic Council worked with unprecedented speed to ratify what's now officially known as Resolution 2387BB, though everyone calls it the Honey Badger Doctrine. The basic premise is elegantly simple. Threatening human offspring triggers protection protocols that ignore traditional species classifications, territorial boundaries, and what most beings consider basic physics. Dad, look, Emma calls out, pointing at our comm array. We're getting another delegation request. I check the display and sigh. That's the 15th one this week. What is it this time? The Predator Species Rehabilitation Council wants to schedule a consultation on appropriate threat assessment in the presence of Earth-Orient companions. They're offering us a research grant, worth more than our station cost. And they want to know if we'd be willing to demonstrate proper honey badger interaction protocols for their training academy. I look at Brutus, who has abandoned the fetch game in favor of investigating a supply crate that specifically warns against opening without proper safety equipment. He's already chewed through 2 of the warning labels. Tell them we'll consider it, but they have to bring their own insurance. The aftermath of what news networks dubbed the Great Kepler Humbling has been fascinating to watch. The Vexkari Collective issued a formal apology within 72 hours, along with a complete restructuring of their territorial claims. Captain Zaltek himself submitted a personal statement to the Council acknowledging what he called fundamental errors in Predator hierarchy assumptions. More importantly, they've established what they're calling Earth creature safety zones around any system with confirmed human presence. The official documentation runs to over 300 pages, but the summary is basically, if you see something small and Earth-like, back away slowly and file a diplomatic request. The really funny part, I tell Emma while making notes on a particularly stubborn sample of purple moss, is that they think Brutus is representative of Earth fauna. Isn't he? Well, yes and no. He's definitely representative of Earth's approach to the whole predator-prey dynamic. But he's actually one of our more reasonable species. Emma considers this. What about Mittens? I shudder. Our cat back on Earth once held an entire neighborhood hostage by refusing to let anyone near the mailbox for 3 days. The Postal Service eventually had to call in animal control, who took one look at Mittens' expression and declared it not their department. Let's not give them nightmares, kiddo. My datapad chimes with an incoming priority message. It's from Ambassador Keekslin, who's become something of a regular correspondent since the incident. Dr. Webb, I hope this message finds you well. The Council has completed its comprehensive review of Earth's biological diversity, and I must confess, the results have been illuminating. We've had to establish an entirely new threat classification system. I scroll through the attached files and can't help but laugh. They've created detailed profiles for dozens of Earth species, complete with threat assessments and recommended protocols. Domestic cats are listed as Class A psychological warfare specialists. Geese are classified under weaponized waterfowl, approach only with full diplomatic immunity. They've even included dolphins, which are apparently considered deceptively intelligent aquatic manipulators. But the best part is the new addition to the Galactic Legal Code. Article 847C, subsection 12, now reads, "Any aggressive action toward human offspring shall be considered an act of war against Earth's entire ecosystem, including but not limited to its various domesticated predator species, psychological warfare specialists, and creatures of unusual size and temperament." The legal scholars, the ambassador's message continues, estimate that this single clause has prevented approximately 47 potential conflicts in the past 6 months. It turns out that most species, when forced to consider the implications of facing an entire planet's worth of creatures like your Brutus, prefer diplomatic solutions. Emma peers over my shoulder at the message. Does that mean no one's going to try to hurt us anymore? Well, no one smart is going to try to hurt us. There's always someone stupid enough to think they can handle whatever Earth throws at them. As if summoned by the mention of cosmic stupidity, our proximity alarm chimes. I check the scanner and see a single ship dropping out of hyperspace, broadcasting what appears to be some kind of challenge on all frequencies. "Attention, puny humans," comes a voice that sounds like it's been filtered through gravel and bad decisions. "I am Warlord Grakestar of the Crimson Fleet. Your pathetic creature cannot save you from my wrath." Emma looks at me. I look at Emma. We both look at Brutus, who has stopped destroying the supply crate, and is now sitting very still, his head tilted in that particular way that means he's detected something interesting. "Emma," I say calmly, "remember what we talked about regarding people who don't read the news? They usually learn the hard way?" "Exactly." I key the comm system. "Warlord Grekthar, this is Dr. Webb. I'm required by Galactic Council Resolution 2387B to inform you that this system is under Earth Creature Protection status. Are you familiar with the Honey Badger Doctrine? Your pathetic laws mean nothing to the Crimson Fleet. Prepare to face the fury of—" The transmission cuts off abruptly as Brutus disappears from view. Emma checks the external cameras and grins. "Dad, I think he found the landing ramp." Through the comm system, we can hear muffled sounds that might be described as confusion rapidly transitioning to regret. There's some shouting, the distinctive sound of hull plating being enthusiastically rearranged, and then silence. 5 minutes later, the Warlord's ship limps back into space, broadcasting a very different message. "This is the Crimson Fleet, issuing a formal apology for our misunderstanding of local regulations. We withdraw all territorial claims and humbly request permission to leave this system immediately." "Permission granted," I reply cheerfully. "Have a safe trip, and remember to read the advisory notices next time." Emma is already pulling out her tablet to document the encounter. "How many is that now, Dad?" "Counting today? 17 separate incidents since the doctrine was established. I'm starting to think we should charge admission." Brutus reappears at the observation port, looking smugly satisfied and carrying what appears to be a piece of the Warlord's armor as a souvenir. He drops it next to his growing collection of trophies and settles down for another nap. The best part, I muse, watching our honey badger begin his post-victory grooming routine, is that he still doesn't understand why everyone else thinks this is unusual. As far as Brutus is concerned, he's just doing what comes naturally. "Protecting his pack," Emma says. "Protecting his pack," I agree. My datapad chimes again. This time it's a message from Earth Colonial Command. "Dr. Webb, we're pleased to inform you that your research station has been designated as an official Earth embassy. Congratulations on your promotion to ambassador. Your new diplomatic credentials are attached, along with a hazard pay adjustment that we hope adequately reflects your unique circumstances." I show Emma the message. She grins. "Does this mean we get to stay?" "Looks like it, kiddo. You, me, and our fuzzy little ambassador to the galaxy." Brutus opens one eye, gives us both a look that clearly says obviously, and goes back to sleep. Outside, the stars shine down on a galaxy that's just a little bit safer for human children, thanks to the most unreasonable predator ever to decide that a research station was worth protecting. And if that's not the most human thing ever, I don't know what is.